Meghan Markle should officially hang up her headphones. Her latest podcast is essentially a flop at this point. Yes, it had some buzz in the beginning, but it's really fallen off the cliff into oblivion. Her show was not even in the top 200 anymore, and she only has 8 episodes. I think this is just episode 5 or 6, guys, and it's already cratered, and nobody is listening to this series anymore. And this is not a surprise in the slightest, because there has been something about Harry and Meghan I have noticed for a long time that I don't think people are, at least in the industry, are totally catching up with, because they're very much in this different mindset, you can say, than the rest in the world in some ways, which is that Harry and Meghan, yes, they generate a lot of noise, a lot of headlines, but people don't stick around. And the audience that they've had has very much dwindled. So we'll go in and we will look at the actual numbers, because Meghan Markle just a couple of weeks ago, guys, just a couple of weeks ago was claiming and waving the flag. My podcast is number 1 or 2. And now it's not even in the top 200. So she's had a catastrophic fall here, and should be just a sign that Meghan, podcasting is not your thing. Television producing is not your thing. Documentaries are not your thing. I don't know what your thing is, but you probably need to find it out at some point, because that house you guys have is pretty expensive and you can't really rely on Prince Harry much longer. So we shall get into it. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. And as a reminder, Mother's Day is coming up here very soon in the US. So I've been wearing my heart necklace. My mom got a necklace a lot like this when I was born. So this is from Ana Lucia Diamonds. Just such a pretty heart necklace. It's lab created diamonds. So if you guys are interested in maybe checking some of this out, they have some amazing pieces, including this, and you can save 20% by using code ROYAL20. I don't know if they'll get it there in time for Mother's Day, but you can certainly try. It is on Sunday for the 10% maybe or less of my Veil viewers out there. Do not forget Mother's Day, because we all deserve to recognize the wonderful and amazing mothers in our lives. And then we do have some bits from the Crown Report here. The royal family attended a service of Thanksgiving at Westminster Abbey to commemorate the end of World War II. And we did see Catherine and William, Charles and Camilla, Sophie and Edward, Anne and Tim there representing the monarchy. I believe the Gloucesters were there as well, and they set some flowers on a memorial for innocence, which I thought was really moving, right outside Westminster. And because of that, it looked like they had a tent set up. So I don't know how well from the opposite side of the street you could have even seen them, because I have been to Westminster Abbey once to get pictures, and it was tricky. It was really, really tricky. So I admire anybody who attempted to try there. And we also have a concert this evening at the Horse Guards. And so Catherine and William were there, Charles and Camilla were there, Sophie was there, and Edward as well. So it was a great time to remember all the veterans and the sacrifice, and those that we have lost, because we've lost so many of that World War II generation at this point. And we do have news about Queen Margrethe of Denmark, who has recently gone to the hospital after dealing with complications due to a cold. She is in her late 70s at this point. So I hope she recovers here pretty soon, because I would love a chance to, because guys, I'm going to begin working on a project here at some point. I would love the chance to interview her, especially about the family's tiara collection. I do have a new tiara video up on Royal Fashion News. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should. It's on the Icelandic state visit, which was also this week there in Sweden, which is very close cousins to the Danes. And what was super cool is that Princess Madeline, who's the king's youngest daughter, wore a tiara we haven't seen in 7 years now. And it was one we had only previously seen on the Queen. So it was a big surprise to see her wear the Edward VII ruby tiara. She is attending at least the first days of events, although she is a private citizen now. So she does this sort of on behalf or to support her family. She and her husband relocated to Sweden last year permanently, and she previously lived in the United States. So she has had this experience living both abroad and back in Sweden, but she has to stay there for some constitutional requirements that keep her children in the line of succession and with their titles, which is something I have been advocating strongly that the Brits should do. And we do have a new hope. That is the other news today. When I saw that there was white smoke out of the chapel, I was like, okay, I have to check it out. Now, it's not because I'm not Catholic, but I do find very exciting to witness a historical moment. I think that's always something kind of cool. And so we will see how this pope is, because I know there's a lot of sort of friction between some of the more progressive that lean more towards Francis's view of the church and the direction it should go, and some of the more conservatives. So I'm fascinated to see, as the Catholic faith is very much a cornerstone of Western civilization. I'm very curious where it should go, which direction. And we also have, because of this new coronation of the new pope, there will actually be royals in attendance, most likely at that event. We can pretty much probably guarantee the Spaniards, probably the Belgians, Luxembourg, Monaco. I can't think of any others that are strong Catholic. Liechtenstein, perhaps. Usually it's the Catholic faith that goes, the monarchs that represent more of the Catholic side of the divide in Europe. So we're less likely to see the Protestant majority faith of like the Netherlands, UK, Denmark, Sweden, Norway to attend this event. However, we could be surprised Queen Maxima is still a practicing Catholic, even though her family is Protestant. We could perhaps see maybe the Dutch attend, as they did have to miss out on Pope Francis's funeral. This would be a way to sort of make up for that. We shall all see. And Queen Maxima is apparently, I just heard this, is in Spain. She has been spotted in Seville. She was previously did a little bit of a jaunt also over to Argentina, which is her native home. So that will be our wrap up for the Crown Report today. If I think of anything else, I will try to add it. But let's get over to this podcast situation, because I was even curious if the Daily Mail had done a synopsis of the episode, and they had. And I was like, oh, this poor fool who still continues to have to watch it or listen to it when nobody else is. Meghan Markle, it's just not her gift, podcasting. She's not really good at it. I haven't even listened to this podcast. I should if I'm reviewing it, to be quite honest. I'm a bit cutting corners here, you could say. However, I listened to Meghan Markle's previous podcast, and I remember the train wreck that was. And it wasn't that the topics of discussion were necessarily bad. She was just merely a poor representation of it. Because Meghan Markle is not somebody who can be authentic, and she can't really drive a conversation about business. I was like even reading a bit of the Daily Mail synopsis of the episode, and they're talking about, oh, I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in. I thought this was supposed to be a business podcast. Fitting in is not really necessarily totally the point of a business podcast. So let's look at the latest results here, because this is always so important, because Meghan Markle and her fans and her stans have made a huge deal about the fact that she was like number one. But when you look at the actual reality of the situation, that's not really true. Top charts. So this is important because there's a couple different things. So top shows. We all know the real top show is probably Joe Rogan. This is apparently pretty good. The Good Hang. This one has gone up. Although I think I was listening to Maureen Callahan, and I don't think she's like one of a self-help guru who might not really be all that helpful. Anyways, so we do have them here. Joe Rogan's podcast is just huge, drives so much conversation. And so let's look at, we got Megyn Kelly here as well. Call Her Daddy is another big one. The Michelle Obama is tracking better than Meghan's given the time. The Jamie Kern Lima show doing better than Meghan. So I'm curious, how many episodes does she have? So she puts out weekly too. Let's keep going. Oh, this one looked interesting. I was curious about that. The Titanic one. The Rest is History. That's a good name. I was like trying to think of a name for my history podcast. I do actually have one in mind. I will not share it right now just because I don't want anybody to steal it. So I'm going to keep it where it is currently right now. So many things. Chloe in Wonderland, Matt and Shane's secret podcast. It's literally a guy sitting on a toilet with his pants down is doing better than Meghan Markle. And she's a literal duchess. So we keep going down. We keep going down. Not here at all. Not here at all. This should not be a surprise in the slightest. We have seen this situation play out numerous times. And yet some people can't just seem to see the reality of the situation and constantly are like, oh, no, they're good. They're successful. So let's go over to business. And we go down. Where is it? I thought it was 40 something. Is it worse than that now? I must have missed it. Hold on. I swear it was like only 45 when I looked earlier today. Oh, there it is. 47. And she's being beat by, I don't know who this is. Don't know who these two people are. Don't know him. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. That is so all these people here. Now, a lot of people know, what is it, The Ramsey Show? I'm sure that is very successful because he's built a whole career out of being able to live financially sound. So a lot of people love it. I have no clue who any of these people are. And I doubt for a lot of people, these people would have high name recognition. And they are stomping on Meghan Markle, a Duchess of Sussex who generates tons of headlines. And so let's go over to top episodes. So I won't even spend the time doing this because there's no way she's on here. I should double check, but we'll just go down here because she's never been on the top 200 episodes ever when it comes to her podcast. Now, this is generally a couple days later. So your one big break with Clever Blend, Hannah. So it's number 66. It's been there for 2 days. This day ago, 18 hours. It's funny to see one that's been on here for like a couple of days, 3 days ago, still beating her 2 days, 3 days, 5 days beating. So many beating Meghan Markle. And so let's see if she's here anywhere else. That's another thing. Does this show have longevity? I mean, you see other shows on here multiple times. She only has one episode, guys, in the top 200 of just business. So this means, now I'm going back here because I just want to go to her page. So let's see, how many episodes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was right. We only have 5 episodes. And this thing has cratered completely. Because even if this one's at whatever it was, I can't remember now what it was, but that none of these are charting either is so indicative of a failure. This is a failure. There's no other way to look at this. She should, given her name recognition, given all the money and resources Netflix is putting behind her, she should be charting a lot better. So why is she failing? Why does this happen every single time? And apparently nobody's taking the lesson. Harry and Meghan generate noise because people like to talk about them. They don't really want to listen to them. There's a big difference here, and they don't really want to buy into them either. The amount of an audience that wants to buy into Harry and Meghan is very small. It's a minor audience. And they have this issue as well where they are very divisive. So people either love them or hate them. There's very few people in the middle. So she's not able really to sway a lot of people between camps, because if you have a big chunk of people who are, I don't know, or I don't have a strong enough opinion to say one way or the other, you can push those people in your favor. Meghan doesn't even have that. This has always been the writing on the wall. We have seen this play out every single time. And this means a lot of something for their future, because you think about it, she has a second product launch coming up at some point with a brand that she's essentially not doing anything with. Let me double check, guys. But it's like crazy to me that Meghan is not doing anything with As Ever. It's just literally there doing literally nothing. It's so like her strategy, guys, is so appallingly bad. It's really just boggles my mind. So this is her last post, which was a nothing burger, was on April 22nd. That was like several weeks ago now. We're probably closing on 2 or 3 weeks that she hasn't done anything. She hasn't explained what anything is. These are just cheers to the beauty of the garden. Happy Earth Day, everyone. That's like, there's just banality to everything. And just like that, we are sold out in less than an hour. Thank you for the last order. Stay tuned, blah, blah, blah. And nothing. And like I said, guys, this is a big problem for them going forward, because she had a big launch, sure. But will the second one be as big? Well, the second time around, it takes her 2 hours to sell out instead of 1 hour. And how is she going to make any money? Is if my theory has always been is that she's actually creating incredibly small batches. And so she sells out of them, but her overhead is higher because she's not producing in mass the way she should to fake a good sale. And what happens when stuff actually has to go to the real big boy and big girl markets and it's not really selling out? These are just Huge, guys, massive, glaring questions for Meghan and her future here in this particular situation because Harry and Meghan are now fully relying on her to bring in the capital. It's all on her because she has all the businesses running. Harry's essentially given up on life and is stewing in his misery and trying to regain what he had as a royal. That's all that Harry's doing. And Meghan is trying to hustle to the best she can, but Harry and Meghan have had this problem for a long time, whereas that the media generates and the buzz is there, but it's not converting. And I can tell you why it probably doesn't convert for this particular podcast and why this podcast was both a bad idea, a poor premise, and didn't have legs. Number one, she limited it to just 8 episodes. 8 episodes works, I think, if you're doing a mini series. So, for example, for me, if I was going to do a short run podcast, it would be a single story told in detail over multiple episodes. This idea that she's just going to do 8 episodes of random conversations as if this is a tease to get more people to talk to her is sort of a really, really bad idea on the face of it because everybody's like, well, what are you going to do next? Because you already limited it to a small amount. So that's less likely means that if that amount doesn't work, you're just going to jump into the next thing. So why, as a viewer, should I get invested if I know you're just going to jump to the next thing and this isn't really going to matter in 6 months? It's different though if you have like a single story you're telling, then people are like, okay, I can engage fully in this story. Then I can put it down because the story has ended and I can move on. This is just not that. And it looks, frankly, very, very lazy. There's people in the industry who are doing podcasts daily. Sometimes it seems like hourly doing live streams and producing a ton of content where Meghan can barely produce or ink out any content. And she's not even doing a video component. Guys, pretty much everybody in this space anymore does a video component to their podcast. Now, if you're doing something that's more of an investigative, like crime scene or historical retelling or something, I can see where having a video component wouldn't be that necessary. But Meghan's interviewing people and chatting with people, and Jamie Kern-Lima actually did a video component, and yet Meghan won't do that. And I can't help but think, is she too scared to put it on YouTube or something? But it's really quite foolish because we can't see these people interacting. And we've seen, at least from her little bit that she did there in Montecito that one time when she was kind of teasing it, that she probably just did it from a blank sterile room in her house. And I don't think people are that engaged in that idea. And this again worked, I think, initially when podcasts were first coming out. But as time has gone on, that's less effective. So she's literally operating, I think you could almost argue, at the very beginning of the pandemic when podcasting and everything really, really, really started taking off. And people are doing it last minute. They're doing it in their closet. So it makes sense in a lot of ways not to have a video component. But as time has gone on and as video has become king, that she doesn't have a video seems wildly, especially for just 8 episodes, 8 measly episodes. It seems wildly lazy to anybody who has any semblance of idea of the industry. It seems exceedingly lazy. So incredibly, incredibly. And she could do better. She could do better here, but she's decided not to do it. And even when she has a little, a bonus bit, which is only 4 minutes, guys. That's nothing. There's nothing here. And the other big problem I see with this, of course, is that we've seen her business and it's not good. If you look at the first 5 months of this year and how she's handled her business, or better yet, a whole year plus from March 2024 to now, competent business people would be laughing hysterically at how bad it is. She's tried to laugh it off, go, I just made mistakes like everybody else. I can make mistakes like everybody else. I'm just one person. I'm just doing this spitballing in the spare bedroom of my house. That's what I'm doing. She has all the resources in the world. This is why I hold her to a higher standard. If she was just like me and she was just doing it this way, I'm like, sure, whatever. You don't have maybe the resources, the bandwidth to do more. She has all the resources in the world. She finally freaking admitted to having a nanny. I'm sure she has housekeepers, assistants, editors, producers, so many different things to help her. And she can only produce such a small amount. where people with a much bigger profile than her, let's say Amy Poehler, or at least more respect within the industry, is pumping out probably, I would guess, weekly episodes. And that's good. Like it's impressive to be pumping out weekly episodes. And it reflects something where, yeah, it's takes time out of your day, but it's like it's not that hard to record an interview, like especially if you have a static setup. And people oftentimes like live in LA, and this is not always the case, but oftentimes they can make the effort to go on a podcast. There's this guy, Michael Rosenbaum, I think is his name is. And I can't remember what the name of his podcast is. You'll have to excuse me. But he used to be on, it was a Superman show that wasn't Superman. Wasn't quite Superman. I can't Smallville. Never watched the show. But I've caught his episodes because he's interviewed actors I like on other programs. And he has a static studio and people come in and they do the interview right there. And sometimes, I think this was particularly during the pandemic, people would, let's say, video call in. But he has a static setup. A lot of people live in Los Angeles. They can come over to his house, chat for an hour plus, and like they have the cameras all set up. You just sit in the chair, press record, everybody goes, it's good. You wrap it up and somebody edits it and it's all done. And how can Meghan not do that? I mean, she could even have a podcast studio literally set up in LA if it's like better to be in LA for this and go once a week, once every 2 weeks or something, and actually have a couple of interviews she does in a day. She does the laziest thing possible. And as more and more people are venturing out into this content creation space, people are becoming more and more aware of the amount of work that it takes and how impressive it is that some people are able to produce what they can. And she looks incredibly pathetic for the measly output that she has. And when it comes to the business side, like my perspective has been, is like, she hasn't been able to run a business. Why in the world would I listen to a business podcast from a woman who knows nothing about business? And we see this reflected in the numbers. People aren't listening because the people who she's trying to attract don't care about this subject. So like she doesn't know her audience. This is another problem. And I realize I'm kind of maybe migrating all over the place, but it's important. She doesn't know who her audience is. I have no clue who this audience was supposed to be, because she says that she created this podcast because it was going to help her create her own business. Well, it's like, well, how's that going to help me, the audience? Because this seems to be selfish and about you. So if it's about you creating your own business, how is it supposed to help me? And then we have the situation where it seems like a lot of the episodes are just simply girl talk, which is not business. A business person, a man or woman, would not listen to a business podcast that's not about business. That's the whole reason you listen to a business podcast, is to learn about business. I know, right? Wildly radical concept. And so I have no clue who she was trying to appeal to, because she doesn't appeal to the business people, because she has no clue what she's talking about. And anybody worth their salt knows that. She doesn't appeal really to her own audience, which is probably not really interested in this topic. She's talking about girl talk, but kind of framing it as business. Because I mean, again, she's talking to her friend with clever blends, talking about not fitting in. And she goes in and talks about, apparently, and I forgot this really quickly. Let me pull it up here real quick. Is that Meghan apparently, during the podcast, Meghan also described, and this is from the Daily Mail, how she turned to Ayurvedic doctor when pregnant with both Archie and Lily. She also spoke about the benefits of adaptogens such as mushrooms, but admitted some see the approach as a little psychedelic and super woohoo. Yeah, it is, Meghan. It's super woohoo. Like, how am I, like, I'm supposed to invest in a woman who took mushrooms while pregnant? No, I would not invest in you. Like, there are certain things where it's like, I hear somebody does something, I'm like, I'm not really, like, guys, think Elon Musk. So I can't remember the exact situation, because again, I'm trying to, and this is bad of me, I admit, but I'm trying to rush through things because I'm trying to do 12 things at once all the time. Anyways, so Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan was like, hey, smoke this bud of marijuana. And Tesla stock tanked when Elon Musk did that. Why? Because you want to know the person at the top knows what the heck they're doing. And yes, maybe she's not taking them now, but like if she's going to be super, and this is the thing too, because she talks a bit about this down here. She's like, the former Suits actress discussed her belief in the ancient Indian holistic Ayurveda philosophy while chatting. She describes how making a friend, mushroom-based cappuccinos help her during a time of grief and other connotations. So, like, if I'm an investor, and granted, I know nothing about any drugs, so probably somebody's going to tell me, well, they have great benefits. So I actually read a book and interviewed a guy who was talking about how horrifically dangerous actually marijuana is. And yes, I know some people are going to tell me it's so safe. Sorry, I don't buy it. It sort of kind of kills your brain cells. Anyways, and I'm supposed to invest in somebody who seems to be more, you could say, fanciful. I don't know if that's the right word. I want to say new agey. And I know some people are new agey. It's not meant to be offensive, but like I see her as a bit more frivolous, to be quite honest, as a business person, because she doesn't seem driven. She's like, well, I took mushrooms when I was pregnant and I believe in this holistic practices. And yes, you can believe in those things and be a good business person. But we've seen Meghan Markle over the years be very inconsistent on everything she does. So how in the world am I supposed to like take any advice she has on business when she can't even seem to get herself together? This is why the podcast has failed. It was a terrible premise, a terrible idea, because Meghan knows nothing about business. She's talking to people who are her friends as well. Because when you're hoping to learn something about business, you don't really want to hear people like talk to their friends and have like friend talk. You want to hear business talk. And Meghan, I think, has invested at least in a couple of the brands of people she's talked to. And so it's like, how beneficial is it to engage with this? A couple of people that she's invested in, their market is very small. They have a very small market. And how does it connect to Meghan's? Like, there's so many questions as a business person I have that makes me look at Meghan Markle's podcast offering going, why in the world would I listen to this? Give me a good reason. And she doesn't have any. Her sole reason is listen to me because I'm Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. And we have seen this endlessly at this point, endlessly. And the bandwidth is starting to run out. People will listen to the initial noise, but they're not sticking around. And I'm sure Lemonada sees the numbers and the numbers aren't good. And I'm sure they've seen a lot of issues with Meghan's Netflix series. Yeah, and maybe got to number 10 globally. Woohoo! But it maybe cratered. And the next time, maybe it won't even make it into the top 10 unless there's another controversial moment like her snapping at Mindy Kaling to generate buzz and publicity. I don't know if people will watch it. The audience is small. And I still don't even know who her show is supposed to appeal to. Is it to moms? Is it to like housekeepers? Who is the show supposed to appeal to? And this is part of Meghan's problem, overall issue, is she has no clue what she wants. She just simply wants people to make her money. And when you don't have a larger vision, it's harder to get people to engage in the brand. I don't know what As Ever stands for. I don't know why it exists. I don't know why she chose the product. She gave us like some general explanations, but they're very personal to her. And the products themselves are very banal. So I just don't feel any connection to anything. And this whole disjointedness that Harry and Meghan have had since leaving the royal family is reflected into people who are just bringing from thing to thing to thing and trying to make something work. And every time it sort of just kind of fails out. And this is another example. And the big question is, how long will people continue to buy into it? Now, there's a fool born every minute, and there are plenty of fools in Hollywood. But at some point, the money will start to run out if Harry and Meghan don't get something solidly pumping. Because the thing is, every week, it should be steady. It should hit the same metrics every week because people are coming back and back and back because they want the next episode. The reason why she's no longer in the top 200 at all is because nobody is coming back. And the initial spot at number 2 or 1 or whatever it hit was artificial. It was part of an effort to overly promote it and make it look successful. But the reality is it wasn't. And much like everything else, at some point, reality does come back to smack you in the face. And this is definitely what keeps happening to Meghan Markle. So I don't know what her next podcast is going to be, but I'm going to guess she's probably going to drop this topic. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Is Meghan going to abandon another podcast idea? Is that even a good idea? Does she even have a good idea for a podcast? I'm going to guess Girl Talk would probably be the thing to do. That would be actually smart, but I don't think she'll do it. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again soon. Bye.